Now we're gaslighting. Okay.
What are we gaslighting the chat?
The lamps have been lit.
Get lamped,
The
chat.
lamps of Gondor. The gas lamps of Gondor have been lit.
The gas lamps of Gondor.
Orcs aren't real.
Gondor calls for aid.
Orcs
Where were the elves?
It's like the signal flames get lit and immediately the king and Wormtongue light the gas lamps and they're like, there is no threat. It's okay. There is no war in Ba Sing Se.
They're telling us to light our lamps for tonight. It's fine.
You're a poet and you didn't know it.
You know.
You know. Do you know?
You know.
Do you know?
You know the Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man?
Do you know?
I know. I know.
The Muffin
Do
Man.
you know?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Content.
It's pronounced content.
I'm content with my life situation at the moment.
I can't hear.
I love consuming content.
Leo's deaf.
Come on, come back to the sound. Come back.
We lost her. We have to amputate.
This-
She wants to hear her friends.
This too is a
I can hear
tradition
it.
of the Winged Badger Tavern. Cleo breaking her headphones.
I was gonna
So
say,
about that thing on your shelf, Cleo.
there's nothing on my shelf.
There's tons of
What do you
stuff.
mean? There are lots of books
What are you
on your
talking about? It's
I
very
do not
small.
believe you put something on my shelf.
I put it in between one
I'll
of the
put your
pages of
cameras
those
on
books.
screen so that chat can see if there's a big discovery here.
I'm not sure if
All right.
Wash is telling the truth or not.
I'm gonna figure this out.
Oh, right now?
The blanket's
you're gonna open
coming
every
off.
single book?
The blanket's coming off.
Now we have to watch Cleo open like
Every
100
book.
plus books.
Every book that
every book.
exists.
I don't think
This
Wash
is
put it
totally
in a
something
book. I think
Wash
it's
would-
way too obvious for that. I think whatever. No, I'm just saying. I think whatever Wash did was not meant to be deceptive. I think it was meant to be found.
I also, like, I can 100% believe Wash either way did it or didn't do it and is gaslighting. Like, I can't tell if Wash actually did this or not.
Yeah, the actual Easter egg is that you may notice that your diploma is gone. Wash stole it.
I mean,
Wash
I've
swapped
gone
your
on
diploma
record
with a
saying
fake diploma.
I have not graduated high school or college, so it's something that I would want.
Yeah. I'm imagining
what I
that
always
Wash
do. I go
slipped
to
a
people's
book up
houses
there.
and steal their
I feel
diploma.
like there must be a book on the.
You're gaslighting me.
Are you trying to manifest this by saying it over and over again?
Yes. That's exactly what's
If you
happening.
say gaslight 3 times, then the gas lamp will light your way in the mirror. I don't know. Gaslight.
The look on Cleo's face when it is finally found.
There's nothing to be found.
Cleo will be moving into her next house and she'll finally find something and she'll be like, what's this?
Oh, that'd be fun.
And then
That
Wash
would
will
be
Oh.
if it was real. It's not real.
This is where I'd put my Easter egg if I had one.
These are all lies.
the Wash
Did I
Brunello
lie to you?
propaganda.
Yes.
Wash is just feeding
For
you
good
lies over the
content.
televibe right
But
now.
would I lie to you in this instance?
Yes,
see,
you would.
I totally believe Wash did put something there, but I could also totally see Wash not putting something there and just saying he did.
I'm
Hi, Willow.
100% certain there's nothing on my bookcase that I did not put there.
That's
Oh,
cool.
so if Wash put something in a book and then handed you the book and then you put the book on the shelf, does that mean you put it there?
If Wash reads a book in
But
the
he did it,
forest, but
though.
no one is around to hear it.
He didn't do that though.
How do you know? There's no one around.
Because he didn't hand me a book ever.
Does it ever really happen? Does it make a sound?
There's nothing on that bookcase. that I don't know about.
Well, I'm happy you're happy.
Cleo's gonna spend all night looking for in case.
I don't think Cleo's happy. I think Cleo is enraged.
I am upset.
The righteous fury.
Leo won't be able to roleplay because she'll just be so concentrated on the book.
Yeah, I guess speaking of books and papers and things, Cleo, do you have your character sheet?
No bookshelf.
Yeah, I got mine open.
There is no bookshelf.
There's no
The fridge isn't real. The fridge isn't real.
There is
We
no
don't need our
fridge.
character
You
sheets.
want the truth? You want the freaking truth?
There is no fridge.
There was never any fridge. The chat just.
I say taking it in a different direction, it could be like, you need me on that bookshelf. You want me on that bookshelf.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
we need like a Patreon content
Few
super
good
cut.
bookshelves.
If you're volunteering to make it, I'll post it when you're done.
A few good books.
A few good.
That's what I always say. All we need is a few good books.
I can recommend some.
I've lived
to
my
you if
life
you
by
want.
that rule.
Yeah. It's a good role to go by. Although my recommendations will mostly be comic books. So, yeah.
Graphic
My
novels.
recommendations. Can I recommend a book?
Do it.
No, you're not allowed.
Are you asking,
Not
like, are you
recommending a
able?
bookshelf.
That, like you really looked like
No,
you were
just-
like, am I able to recommend a book? Like, can
No,
I?
I mean,
Can I do? Why?
I meant,
After
like-
all, why shouldn't I recommend it?
I meant like,
It is
do
not
I
why
have a
shouldn't
book
I recommend an audio
that I've read? Do I have a book that I have read that I could recommend?
While you're thinking of one, I can recommend one. I'm almost done with the New 52 Batman run, so that would be written by Scott Snyder and drawn by Greg Capullo. It's very, very good. A lot of iconic storylines in there, and the art is great.
Jake is just on a
Highly
quest
recommend.
with his life to find media by people whose last names are Snyder.
Yeah. Well, Zach, speaking of Snyder, Rebel Moon Part 2 came
sorry,
out this
everybody.
last weekend. It sucks. It sucks so bad, and I'm very
heard.
disappointed. I
Yeah.
liked the first part, and I was one of the few who liked the first part, but the second part, oh my, it's bad. Anyways, don't watch it.
Would you
Sorry
look at the
about that.
time? It's 8 o'clock.
Oh boy, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Tonight,
You know what that means?
viewers and
Time to look at
players.
Cleo's bookshelf.
No, it's time to work on our player epilogues. Players, we're going to, I've already talked to the players a little bit about this, but we're essentially going to build these epilogues in real time together, but over a span of many years. So if you remember how we built the world, chat, we did this thing called Dawn of Worlds, where each person was a god and each turn was 500 years, and it was like a whole thing. We're probably not going to go in 500-year increments, but we're essentially going to cover a broad swath of time and just zoom in on the moments where important things happen and give each character a chance to talk about what they're doing in that kind of phase of life. So for you, the players, the mentality to approach this with is imagine your character was transitioning from a player character to an NPC. That's kind of what we're doing here. They're still in the world. They might still be about doing things, well, except Fox, rip Fox. They're still doing things, but like they're not necessarily like the heroes anymore. They've finished that arc of their lives, and now we're kind of seeing what comes next for them. And I will be filling in the gaps for the rest of the world around you. And I built, for the sake of nostalgia, this little overlay that kind of brings us back to our roots
Aw.
here for each character.
Aw.
That's very sweet.
Throwback to
Jeb's
our
all about going back
look
to
how
roots.
cool.
yeah, throw back to our pixel art roots and the hand drawn images of the main characters there by Will of the Wisp, who is in the chat.
Do I bounce when I talk? Aw.
No, you don't bounce when you
It's okay.
talk. Sorry, I didn't go that hard.
It's okay.
If you know, you know.
It's fine.
So I will start by kind of setting the scene. We're just gonna pick up like day 2, you know. So we've seen what happened immediately after, and Aulen kind of gave the company speech, and we saw that Fox was on his way to interview with the essentially interview with the gods for the position of Avatar of Kelnor. And we kind of saw some of that, but we didn't necessarily see what happened in the rest of the world when we, for lack of a better phrasing, turned magic back on, reconnected the planes, brought them back together again. And so I'm going to start by establishing some of that context, and then we will zoom back in on each player and what they want to do. So let's talk about that. As magic re-entered the world, the big picture of what happened in that finale is that the weave of magic, which we now understand to be literal threads that tie the outer planes where magic kind of originates in with the material plane that knit the universe together, we essentially made a new one. So imagine you're taking a bunch of string from a bunch of different balls of yarn, and you're dragging all the pieces together, and you're making a big spaghetti out of it and tying the knots off. That's what the avatars did in order to restore magic. And as they did that, and especially in that final scene where it seemed like all hope was lost, but Fox had a chance to, from the afterlife, kind of reach back across in tandem with Willow and drag the material plane back into contact with those outer planes, there was some collateral damage. In that brief moment when everything was connected to everything, but the weave had not tightened back out, where all of those threads were, for lack of a better phrasing, loose around each other, loosely looped around each other, there were a lot of crossovers that happened. And so there are a number of displaced creatures and items and relics that have popped up all over the world of Urda. In addition to that, there are a number of latent magical effects on the world of Urda that have now come into being. For example, there are a number of portals in the world that were placed there by Kay, Avatar of Kelnor, before the Darkening, that have suddenly just fizzed into existence, that are connecting, the eastern edge to the western edge, essentially, that are connecting the continent of Ko with the mountains of Gaim and everything in between. And so there's this really interesting set of kind of planar travel, literally planar, like across this plane, that has become available, but also interplanar travel has become a thing again. And the handful of creatures in the world who are strong enough to do so have been exploring it. They have found that magic in its returned form is perhaps a little bit more raw and a little bit less tame than magic was previously, whether that is from a lack of direct intervention by the gods, or whether that's for some other reason, we don't know. But interestingly, this more raw, untamed form of magic is more available to different creatures and different kinds who can learn to be in tune with the weave. The threads of magic this time were not knit by the gods, they were knit by normal mortal creatures, and there seems to have been some kind of resounding impact of that is giving access to more and more creatures. So in reality, the whole thing the Aboleths were using as the foundation of their plan, which was that magic is only granted to the chosen few, but we can give it to all of you, that has sort of come to pass anyway, in that, with enough essentially grit and study, any creatures can go ahead and begin kind of channeling the arcane arts. In the immediate aftermath of all this, however, there's a lot of what the heck is going on? There's a lot of confusion in the world. There's a lot of disruption in the world. The Hishalan armies, the tiefling armies that kind of swept down from the northwest, have suddenly had their command structure uprooted. There are generals and battalion commanders and admirals and things all across the world that are essentially waking up from a mental enslavement. There are people who weren't enslaved, who were bought in, who are suddenly... It's not just that their leadership is gone, it is that by ripping the Aboleths out of the fabric of history, nobody knows about Aboleths. The term Aboleth receives blank stares. Only the people who are most closely tied to the event have any memory of it, which is to say the four guys, crew, and founders who were at the site of the ritual. And even for you, it was fuzzy until you saw the blasted arcane circle on the ground and it started to kind of come back to you. Sir Topham Sav and the private security goons leadership, who had made these really intense deals with the Aboleths, they can recall what happened. And that's about it. For everybody else, it's what's an Aboleth? What happened? Whatever the other, wide-ranging consequences of just ripping that name out of the world, we don't know yet. We haven't explored. And so in that kind of day two persona, as just reports are kind of trickling in from the rest of the world on what's going on, I want to zoom in on each character and kind of figure out what you want to do. And at this stage, I imagine you're all still together, maybe on the Cugboat. And so I think this would be a better scene to perhaps roleplay as a group and just have you all kind of talking about what comes next. We find ourselves in the old spa, the room in the nest of the Cugboat, with its slightly too large table and its chairs crammed against the walls, odd-angled bar stools and things that have just been shoved into there to make a sort of war room for you to do your work from. And I'd also like you to establish for me in this scene, where is the tugboat going? Like, what's the company doing as a whole, or what are your directives to your company?
Well, guys, world is, I guess, kind of in chaos. Like, I mean, like we got rid of the threat, but there's still a lot of like power vacuum stuff.
Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. It's kind of weird to actually see it, though.
It is. I do believe that one of our immediate responsibilities might be to return to Gaim, because we did leave them, you know, in a bit of a rushed state, in a bit of a perilous state. Perhaps revisiting them as a company, might be, to me, it strikes me as the right thing to do, because they did provide a lot for us.
That's true.
We left.
We could
I'm also
probably...
open to other suggestions.
We could definitely give a lot of aid there.
What about stainless?
Well, stainless, I mean, Aulen will kind of look out from the tugboat, from the vantage point.
Stainless is gone.
Like
Stainless
just
is
gone,
white.
Gone. Like, it was sucked into the void of limbo during the catastrophe, and even now all that remains is a deformed section of mountains. Like, the mountain peaks curve inwards like the Sarlacc pit. Like, it's just this weird, like, you can see where the gravitational anomaly was.
If stainless is to return in any sort of state, I think it would be a very long-term project, one that does intrigue me as someone who lived in stainless for a couple of years.
Yeah, I think we should get resettled as a company, and then I have some personal matters I'd like to attend to once the company is good.
I'd like to take care of something before we leave here, but then yeah, I agree, Aulen. You may want to think about how to tell the Queen that we left to go take care of something dangerous when they don't remember that thing that we left to go take care of.
Is there any way to save an image of the battlefield?
I mean, I could do like
evidence, if you will.
I could do like a minor image, but the way that those images work is they're kind of conjured out of your mind, so there's not a ton of way to prove that what I'm conjuring is correct.
But like the same thing with me. I could form a static image on an object, but it's completely, it's not factual or any form of documentation. I think that, or I guess my hope, and I will definitely consider how to communicate it to her. But I hope that the general feelings of why we needed to leave are still kept in her memories, if that makes sense. Like, even if she doesn't know that it is an aboleth, there
was still an army at her door.
There was still an army at her door, and we needed to leave in order to stop the leader of that army, if that makes sense.
Well, we also, if I remember, they followed us. Like, when we left, we drew them away. So
yes, so
maybe we can lean into that.
Yeah, hopefully she won't have directly negative feelings towards us.
Josh, would Kavor and Kavor's followers know the Aboleths?
I don't know.
Maybe Kavor and the followers of Kavor would remember, and like they would be a good third party to.
I don't know if I feel comfortable asking an ancient dragon or legendary dragon to just follow us.
Oh no, I'm not saying that we have Kavor follow us, but like that's a third party that would be able to describe what has happened, or vouch for us. It's like that's on the person we're talking to go and seek that information.
I think that is fair. I guess maybe something that I would want to bring up now is that I believe that while previous impressions of Four Guys has been worldwide somewhat negative, I think that a way that we can improve that, and I think also just do something that I think is much needed, is to maybe shift our way of doing things. Perhaps instead of a adventuring company or monster hunting / treasure hunting, that sort of thing.
That would be a dungeon delving.
Dungeon delving. Yes, essentially that. Instead of that, what if we shifted to more of an aid service?
Also,
obviously, I think that's what's more needed in the world right now.
Sir Topham Sav helped us out in the end. I don't know if that would make us like allies or friends or anything, but maybe we could start working together with him with televibing and all that.
Personally, I don't exactly have a propensity for wanting to work with Sir Topham Sav. I don't know about you guys, but it doesn't sound very appealing to me. I think I would never be able to trust him, even though he, eventually chose the right side. But I don't know. I think perhaps operating more in a space where people see the good that we're doing with the money that we have, and currently in the four guys ledgers, but then if they see the good that we're doing, maybe they would be more willing to give to our cause to keep us going and continuing to provide that aid. I think in Gaim is a great place to start, and then I personally would want to extend that service and go personally myself to Udril to honor the sacrifice that the King of Udril made.
That's a you responsibility.
Yes, I mean I would like to personally, take on that responsibility, but I
You
wouldn't.
want to be the king?
No, not at all. I want to go and personally help and help organize. But also I wouldn't be opposed to if I could bring company resources with me to do that. I would greatly appreciate it.
What if, how much time has passed since yesterday when the king died? Could you revive him, Xoth? Could we retrieve his body at least and bring it back?
If I have a piece of him and the materials, I can revive anyone that hasn't died in the last 100 years. That has died in the last 100 years.
Wow, that's pretty significant. You just pull that out of your back pocket right now, or?
I don't have the materials. I don't have a gem worth that much to cast the spell. But if we can get the gem, then yeah.
Well, I know that.
Well, what if we can't get the gem? What are like your other options? Is there like a in between the last minute and 100, like a century? So
No.
surely there's like some variation in there.
Not
Weird.
that I have.
Okay.
Well, I know that Xoth, you talked about trying to find a piece of Fox for that same
Yes.
reasoning, and I don't, obviously it's your magic and your resources, so I won't tell you what to do with it. I don't know if I have a strong opinion either way on whether
If we want to, if we can retrieve the king's body, then we can at least we could store it, and then if we have the financials to buy the diamond we need, I can do it.
As a bearer of a rod, I think he deserves a royal burial.
That is what I was about to say, is that I think at least finding his body and storing it safely and trying to preserve it, and then bringing it to Udril and asking his people, his family, the people that know him best, for guidance as to what he would want. I believe that is the best path forward.
Okay, so we kind of have an idea what we
Also,
want to do as a company and like what we want to do together or like, individually. Do you guys know what Fox would have wanted to do after all this is done?
Mm-hmm.
I think
he promised to put on the month of Mellow, so
I know that.
I'm gonna have to start setting that up in his and Kay's honor.
Okay.
Maybe Radford would want to help with that.
Yeah, I don't know what that crackpot wants. Ain't no telling.
But outside
But
of that, I don't.
We could also look for Fox's missing leg.
Xoth, I know you knew Fox better than us. Well, I mean, even Jeb, I feel like you knew Fox better than I. You two got very close. I will trust both of you on what you think Fox would want in that case regarding finding his leg and reviving him. I simply don't know.
I mean, also with any resurrection spell, the soul has to be willing. So like, if it's like we try and res and it's like nah, they can still say no.
Is that like cleric lingo?
Yeah.
So you're like, when you
Nah,
res?
bro. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, that'll
So-
be nice to have that like back in the world.
So I think we could do like I feel like at least we can set the pieces and provide the opportunity for people to come back if they want, but like obviously they can choose not to if they don't want to.
Mm.
So I would like to try to bring Fox back, and if we like, I think the King of Udril is definitely deserving of a resurrection. But again, Aulen, I kind of leave at your discretion. He died saving you. I think that's what you said.
That is correct.
Well,
Like I said, I think bringing his body to Udril would be my priority, and then going from there.
I just
well, if we're kind of done here ish, I may go fly and see if I can find him and
Yes.
take care of that thing that I wanted to take care of before we leave.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
And if you guys don't mind, when I'm done, just kind of meet me. You can pick me back up on the site on that
Okay.
cliff.
Okay.
All right. Be good hammering things out and rezzing. You so res, man. Shut the door.
For the resurrection spell, I need a diamond that's worth at least 1,000 gold. That's the material component for it. I have a diamond worth 500. That was for like in the fight within a minute resurrection. But for the longer one, it needs double the value. So
Gotcha.
that's per cast too. It uses the diamond when I cast it. So 2 people would be the 2 diamonds worth 1,000 gold.
Okay. That may be something that we could possibly purchase in Gaim. Although in times of crisis, I don't know if the precious gems market is very profitable. But
Not sure.
either that or as you mentioned, dungeon delving is kind of our specialty. So trying to find some abandoned gems, I'm sure is not out of the realm of possibility for us. So we'll be able to ascertain those resources.
Sounds good. Is there anything else?
No, I mean, I think I'd like to rest.
I might go talk to you. Or
Alright.
affirmative.
Sure. And then, yes, I think I'm going to rest a lot on our travel. And then once we reach Gaim, I think I'm going to try to find a good way to reach Udril after that. And in the meantime, I'll think about what we want to say to the Queen.
We zoom out from that interaction and we're going to follow Jeb first. So Jeb, you leave the airship and you go flying off into the distance. What's Jeb up to?
Oh, he's just gonna kind of take in the sights for a little bit. He's got all of his spell slots today, and there's no immediate danger, and being up in the mountains and the cool, clear air, it's oddly calm, and I don't like it. It feels like it's that feeling he's thinking to himself. It's that feeling of right before something big happens, and he'll just find himself turning around, and there's nothing there.
Are you going deeper into the mountains or up towards Fladena to the north?
No, he's just in the air. He's in the air, and he's gonna scour the forest below to see if he can ascertain where the King of Udril and his wolf.
It takes a lot of searching, but Jeb is able to find both the king and his royal guardian wolf. They are over the plains of Fladena. The platforms were extending out to the north away from the mountain range, and so they actually bring you towards the city. And as you fly towards the city, you can see that what was once kind of a bustling hub of, for lack of a better term, like Motown, jazz vibes, like kind of the Roaring 20s speakeasies and vintage little corner stores and things. It's just all draconic sized because they were dragons there. Most of it has been not leveled or raised, but damaged incidentally. Stray airstrike shells have destroyed buildings, or you can see where big tire tracks where convoys have marched through. The private security goons gala way back when was held in Fladena, and so there's a lot of the path that has just been kind of traversed by the different kind of military convoys and supply convoys and things like that. So there are these new deep ruts in the ground where before dragons didn't really need roads. So some of those paths go right through buildings and things like that. You find with a little bit of kind of a deja vu memory, you find the rumor mill, which is Clara's bakery and bar, her little speakeasy, and its back room, the door with the the Black Song crest carved into it, and the memories of you being smuggled out of there in a pie crust, and all of that kind of coming back to you. Tacitus's body is on the northern end of the city of Fladena, so further from the mountains. And he's, it's not pretty, but he's intact and intactus, if you will. And you're able to collect him and the wolf, probably magically. I don't think Jeb could carry either of them.
Well, between Jeb and Cheddar, I think they could levitate them and then fly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
easy enough. But as Jeb kind of leaves and flies away from Fladena, he just kind of looks back and sighs a little bit. And I guess they're entering their blues era.
Oh.
And then he heads up towards the ship.
As he flies back towards the ship, Jeb, you also get a glimpse further to the east of where you are. You can still see the fallen library, the huge kind of tower jutting out from where it had landed, and the peak that had the mountaintop city of Scylla. Both of those are still on the ground. It appears that when the gods returned to the world, they did not see fit to raise them back into the air. The Umbral Sea has been filled back to its full kind of height or depth, I guess, of water. And then you head back to the airship. Let's talk about Aulen. Aulen, where did you go from that conversation with Xoth?
Short term, Aulen is going to literally go to his quarters and try to rest. He'll be thinking about, trying to think about what's the best way to approach the conversation with, the Queen of Gaim, as well as thinking about, he doesn't want to presume that he has the access to the airship where he would be able to say, hey guys, I'm going to take the airship to Udril. So he's trying to think about all right, should I ask the queen for transportation to Udril, or what are my options there? But because he does feel very strongly about, recovering the king of Udril, taking him back to his homeland. And, he's pretty much positive that the royal family there has access to clerics and to gems and all the things that they would need to revive him if they deem that that's what they want to do. So he's just thinking about the importance of that and how that's what he wants that to be his next step.
And what about Xoth? I know he wants to talk to Affirmative. What's he talking to him about?
Just what Affirmative thinks in terms of where what he would want his ideas for the plans for the company.
His goals basically are to kind of continue working at the company. He's comfortable in his position as base master. He thinks that it would be good to reestablish in Gaim, since it's one of the few nations that still has its power structure in place. So just in terms of finding somewhere with some stability to try and rebuild, he thinks that's a good one. And also because Yaz not totally convinced that there's nothing else dangerous in the Underdark, and being in Gaim gives him access to that. Okay. He's confident that he can build a whole new roster of dungeon delvers from his contacts in the stacks when he was providing protection. He wants to give those people employment opportunities and see if he can help them move up in the world.
Okay, and Zoth would probably relate to it that we want to expand company's efforts into also just assisting and aiding where necessary.
Especially with the crew you have now, a lot of them were at ground zero, and so they're still very deeply invested in the idea of helping the world recover. And many of them did not get a chance to fight off of the airship just because of the kind of crew necessary to protect it during the fight, like Rex and Sasha and Monkery and all these people who were stuck on the airship just keeping it going so that Bruiser could do the necessary work of being in the airship. And so they're kind of itching for a chance to get hands on. This is a crew of active, adventuring people that you have recruited. So they don't want to be sitting on the sidelines. So that's definitely something that the company can start doing. Let's start to push into the time skip a little bit here.
I wanted to do one last thing.
Great.
When Jeb asked everybody to kind of like meet him back on the cliff face, Jeb and Cheddar have both started using mold earth. He spent a little time and calculated the exact center of Urida and is constructing a piece of art.
Ooh.
He's asked Aulen and Xoth to chip in.
Yeah.
He has made a statue of Fox flying upward into the sky with an arm outstretched and a shell incoming, and it's got like a little etching and words at the bottom of it that tells the tale of Lily Fox Peace, and the sacrifice that he gave, and the lack of hesitation in his bravery, and how he would love to be the center of the world, but in a place that nobody knew of. And it's called the Vulpes Pacum.
Interesting.
That's beautiful, Jeb.
Lovely. It's how he would want to be remembered.
I just don't want him to be forgotten.
Xoth is going to pull out a ration, take out the dessert, and stick it right under the statue, or like on the bottom of the statue.
Jeb will do the same.
Alan will do the same. And Alan will also say, he will not be forgotten, partially because of this monument, but also because of us. We won't let him be forgotten.
No.
And Jeb will give the statue a pat on the calf, like he normally does, and turn around and walk away.
So I'll give it up and walk back on the ship.
Alan will give it a look and smile and turn back, and he'll kind of say under his breath, if that's anything like Xoth's statue, we're just going to see him in about 6 months, and keep walking. But he means that in a genuine way, and also in like a coping way, just like in like like we've been through a lot.
Stranger things have happened, for sure.
Exactly.
I'm curious, Wash, what FP does as he's kind of looking at this remembrance. He's probably got Gunner's hat, has probably been given to FP62 at this point as just like a, hey, here's this thing, to remember your friend Gunner by.
I think FP will definitely stick with the company and return to Gaim. He's very, that's where he joined them. That's where the dwarf told him to get a life. And I think quite simply, he's going to do that. He's going to try to find somebody to get romantically involved with. He's going to try to start a family. He's going to work a job. He's going to try and build himself a little life there.
I like that. I could see that. Over the next few years, our characters and heroes kind of split off to do their next set of goals. Yeah, the Myconid or Affirmative, the Myconid definitely maneuvers four guys into a position of, I guess humanitarian aid isn't quite the right phrasing for a world of fantasy creatures, but creaturetarian aid. Folk aid. he's good. He helps. He does charity work.
I like folk aid.
Yeah, folk aid. It's not like Gatorade. You don't have to drink it. And when you get back to Gaim, probably the next thing we need to really zoom in on is Aulen talking to Salen, Queen of Gaim. As you arrive in Gaim, the top of the city is still much wider than it traditionally has been from where they opened it up to make room for the draconic forces from Fladena. There is still a massive military presence all around the city. Just because it seems like the threat has ended does not mean that the Gemstone Guardians are slacking off at all. And so even as your airship comes in, you don't even make it to the city before you're challenged by the Gemstone Guardians. Mm-hmm. And luckily, it's Chasm Jasper, the Gold Knight, who recognizes you and it's like, oh, we know these guys, and kind of escorts you in. And so you can get past the layers of security until you get to the queen, who does not, as she has in the past, meet you in any kind of conference room or anything like that. You see her in her throne room, where she sits looking almost exactly the same as you left her. Dark skinned. She's got a circlet that kind of rests across her forehead with a pale gem. And she wears like a very highly tailored outfit, like, you know, big expensive stuff. She's got a dress that's clearly been made stitch by stitch for her. She's got really expensive looking shoes that are made of crystals. She, you know, this is a person who is flexing her wealth. And she sits on the throne as you come in, and she doesn't even say anything to you. She just looks towards you and waits.
Four Guys, Adventures and Vibes have returned. We have successfully disabled the threat to Urda at large. And we are here to humbly request permission to establish our headquarters in Gaim again, and to help aid the city in rebuilding in this time of crisis. I am also saddened to report to you that Laredith did not return along with the other aboleths. Not aboleths. Aulen didn't say aboleths. Aulen said avatars. Along with the other avatars, they perished during our final confrontation. And Aulen will just wait for a response.
She looks at Aulen for a long moment, her thumb kind of tapping idly on the side of her throne, as it always has when she's thinking. It seems to me that a great number of events in the world directly linked to you have had an impact on my city-state. And I am not convinced that the overall pros outweigh the cons. I have been speaking with a number of different advisors, prophets, clerics, what have you, about this so-called threat, and none of them seem to have any recollection of it, which leaves me wondering, trying to fill in strange gaps in my memory, a memory, I'll mind you, that is sharp enough to recall the day I brokered a treaty between the Drow and Hemetetians nearly 350 years ago. And I'm left wondering, did you stage a worldwide cataclysm to try and gain influence?
Well, the simple answer is no. However, I will not spend too much time trying to convince you of something that I know once you've made up your mind, you will have made up your mind. I can only ask you, what do you remember of our time in Gaim? And what do you remember of the way we left Gaim and the way that we have returned to it? As well as, what do you remember of the way the avatars of the gods trusted us? And also, what do you remember of the way your daughter thought of us, specifically Zothkug?
Zothkug. Now that's an interesting point you bring up. I'm told he's with you.
That is correct.
Which makes me wonder why there's a statue of him posted in memoriam just outside this palace. You ask what I recall of you, but what I recall is that you arrived in my city with an avatar who had abandoned her duty to us, who you've somehow persuaded to go along with your plans. You told us of a grave threat of which we had seen no signs. You happened to be here on the day we brought a number of dark creatures into the city corroborating your threat that our knights had to destroy in the Underdark. Were brought into the city, and then your cleric identified them for us. I recall a fight in which you very valiantly were injured but suffered apparently no lasting impacts. I recall you leaving. And then I recall an army coming back and laying siege to the city. A serious threat, one which we had to meet outside our borders, both in the Underdark and the Overworld. And then I recall, after that having been established, you arriving with demands. You did very courteously have the conversation with me before abandoning us, which you did, and you took the avatars with you. And I note that none of them have returned alive, but you have, including the character who supposedly died valiantly protecting us. It does not create a strong narrative for you.
I guess I would simply reply with a question. If you or not, I don't know if it's technically a question. If you would like me to point by point explain every detail that you just brought up, I will and I may. But if you have already made up your mind, then just say so and we will leave.
I have not.
My only promise that I can make to you is that if you let us go back to our headquarters in the upper circles, in the upper pillars, we will show you through our actions that we are only here to do good. Our intentions have always been to do good. You can ask people who interacted with us directly near our headquarters, and they will tell you that we provided protection and security for those who were being trampled on by the underworld in this city. And we will continue to do so and do more to help the city rebuild.
She turns to a couple of advisors and appears to be taking counsel on whether she can trust what you've said or not. There is a booming knock on the door of her throne room that reverberates around the space, and then Chasm Jasper again opens it and says, "Ma'am, there's another Four Guys employee here to see you, if you'll admit." She says, "Send them in." And before Chasm can open the door, it is kicked open by a Cipider who stomps into the room, a cigar in two of her hands. She says, "Your Holiness, whatever you're called, you are making a big mistake by even stalling on this. Because I've been in your city, and I've seen how things are." I just rolled a nat 20 on her behalf. "And let me tell you all about what you need to know about our yellow circle, green circle plan to bring Gaim back onto the map." And she, markets your way into the Queen's favor, essentially, and kind of is the dividing factor between whether the Queen will trust you or not. And the Queen determines that she will be willing to give you a chance, and so you are able to reestablish on the 10th tier of Gaim, way up in the stacks. You get your old Malarkey Circle headquarters back.
On the way out of the conversation, Aulen will just say something along the lines of, "Fox was always much better at that."
And so, yeah, the Myconid is able to reestablish, and truly, over the next 5 to 15 years, Four Guys Ventures and Vibes does prove to Salen that whatever their past behaviors were, their current intentions are positive. In those 5 to 10 years, let's follow Xoth and Jeb a little bit. Xoth, what are you up to?
So I think in the 5 to 10 year range, it would have been, he would have gotten back to Gaim to help resettle the company. In that time, he might have seeked audience with the princess, tried to explain his revitalization back onto this world, and that he has some affairs to set in order, but he will come back for her. And then he will set on his way back to his hometown to check on his parents, to deliver the news to Fox's parents, and that there's hope that he could still find Fox. And so he's going to set out to do that after he visits his hometown. He's going to try and gather the founders for the search of Fox's missing leg.
Okay, well let's pull back a little bit on that and talk about those things that you're doing. So the first thing you do is you meet up with the princess. It's awkward and weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you show up with a poem or not, but she still has that letter from Xoth that he died holding that was a poem for her. And eventually Xoth is able to explain and kind of start up a little bit of a conversation with her. It actually works out to be in Xoth's favor that he has affairs to go settle, because Queen Salen is like not interested in her princess courting one of the owners of Forgav at present. So it kind of helps to have that buffer time before Xoth returns to the pursuit, where, you know, can kind of change the opinion about Forguys for a bit. However, when Xoth heads to where his tribe was and to see Fox's parents, that trip turns out to be a little bit more darker and distressing than he expected. He finds that Fox's parents and many of those in their commune have passed from a plague that fell upon it, and his tribe is part of the section of the hills that were burned as the armies marked through. And so neither he nor Fox has any parents left to go back to in that space, at least not at home. I suppose it's possible that his parents escaped. I don't know if that affects any of his next steps or not.
Unless he can find, like, I'd say he'd probably take a month for this. If he like searching for maybe a local or a tribe closest to the wreckage that still exists there and gather information. But if he doesn't find anything useful, any leads that he could go on within, like, probably I'll say max 2 months, then he's just gonna go back, gather the founders, and head on the missing fox, or the fox's missing leg quest.
Okay. He does not find any signs or leads or evidence that he can follow in that time.
Okay.
Jeb, what are you up to in that 5 to 10 year span?
Well, Jeb's obviously going to hang out with the company and spend some time, like committing some time there to help rebuild, help work on their new efforts, begrudgingly shift from treasure acquiring to philanthropy. But he's like, but I know it's like you're right. I mean, I keep complaining about it, but you're right. And it's like, and every once in a while you'll like see him walking down the halls of the headquarters, just and then it's right. It's okay. And I think after a little bit of time, the dust kind of settles, and you know, all the processes are put in place, and feels like all of the business affairs are set in order, and the machine can run for a little bit, so to speak. He's going to sit down with Aulen. No, I think he's going to sit down with Xoth. Say, hey, big guy, you getting your things all ready? You're going to be leaving out here soon?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna go see my parents, hopefully, Fox's parents. Just, you know, make sure they know that I'm alive and well.
Yeah.
That,
I mean, you could have sent a letter. It's been a while, but
it has been. I think this is like a thing you do in person, though. Like, it's been a long time since I've seen them. You know,
that's fair.
Like, I haven't seen them since we met.
So, and Jeb like sits down at the break room lunch table and kind of like opens up his little lunch box and starts eating his sandwich. So, like, what are you gonna say to them? Just, you know,
my parents or Fox's parents?
Your parents, whom you have not seen in such a long time. You know, like, isn't it hard to like talk after so much time has gone past? Like, how do you even approach that kind of conversation?
Oh, I don't think it'll be difficult. I mean,
but like, what if it is? Like, what would you say if it is? If like, it's been a long time and you kind of don't know what to say?
Oh, you just walk in and say, "Hey, I'm alive." First and foremost, a big hug. I guess just regale them of our tale. You know, we'll have a night chat about everything that's happened. That's, you know, see what they've been up to. You know, they're my parents.
Okay. All right. Well, that's
I guess
the
how would
vibe
you
I
like
wasn't considering.
How would you want your a family member of you haven't seen for 3 years approach a conversation with you?
Yeah, I don't know.
You just approach it like, I guess, any other conversation, and it might get a little bit deeper, and that's okay. You just roll with it, you know?
I appreciate you so much, Xoth, but I just do not understand you. Like, even after all this time. And I think that's probably like, oh, there's not anything wrong with that. But wow, you are just a different beast, you know?
I guess how would you approach said conversation?
I don't know. That's why I've been hanging around here for the past couple months, you know. I'm just trying to think. That's why I'm eating my sandwich now and letting you talk. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know what I'm doing.
We're having this conversation, you know? Just do that with other people.
Yeah, but like, I guess maybe a complicated problems don't need complicated cures. Maybe you're right. I'm not sure.
Just have a conversation, I think. Like don't overthink it, man. This is not something you need to plan and scheme out, you know? Just start talking and see where the conversation goes and adjust accordingly.
But what if I mess it up?
How do you mess up a conversation?
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to explain that, guy, because I totally messed up a lot. And I know that there's been times when Fox was like, doop dub de doop doop, and I was like, chronal shift. Let's try that one again. Or, you know, whatever.
But, no, it'll work out. Even if you don't mess up, just recognize it.
Yeah. All right. And Jeb sits up and walks out of the break room and leaves his sandwich on the counter. And
wait, Jeb.
What?
And just holds out his arms for a hug. I don't know when else to make it, but I'm fairly confident I will.
I'll be around.
Yeah.
I
We
work
gotta go
here.
find Fox's missing leg eventually.
What? Oh, his leg? Do you think it's like grown into a sibling of his or something?
We can at least.
I'm still not fully convinced that that's not how changelings reproduce. I'm like 60-40 on that. I still think that there's probably like a baby changeling attached to that adult leg buried underground somewhere, which I think will be wonderful and appreciative of you rescuing it. So when you find that,
well,
let me know and give it a hug for me.
When I finish with Eric, I'll probably come back here to recruit you and Aulen for that quest.
Oh, okay.
Like a last founder's quest, if you will.
Ah.
And then pass the mantle to some other young folk, because we've been through a lot.
Well, send me a message.
Will do.
And I'll be there. And Jeb is going to head home.
Tumbleweb?
Yeah, it's time.
Jeb finds Tumbleweb in kind of an interesting place. Many of the kind of rich elite of Tumbleweb had been enslaved by the aboleths. You were party to some of that, or like you knew some of that because you had seen how the scheme was working, where they would get someone influential, throw a party at that person's house, and then kind of get to other influential people that way, like by inviting the kind of circle of nobility, if you will.
Yeah.
In the power vacuum that is left behind by the complete fog of confusion that descended on everybody who has power in Tumbleweb, Elaine Mollusk has stepped into the role of kind of rebuilding the city, not in her normal capacity as sort of an engineer and an artificer. She has taken over as the mayor of Tumbleweb. And Elaine Mollusk is rebuilding. She's done away with the council and some of the other things that were set up in that city, and is kind of rebuilding the way that city works. She's trying to create some quality of life changes. She's investing in infrastructure modifications, things like that. And so a lot of you arrive, 5 years into this effort is just enough time for her to start persuading people, but not enough time for very much to be done. So it's kind of a boisterous time to be in the city of Tumbleweb. Everybody's got opinions about things that Jeb is trying not to think about at the moment. Like he's like putting the rebuilding of the world on pause to deal with his own personal stuff. But you are pleasantly surprised to see that most of the city, because its leadership was enslaved, was not damaged by the occupation of the Hishalan armies. Obviously, all of the religious sites were damaged, but
as if they weren't already super damaged from them hating Owara.
Yeah. But the city itself, the bowl is intact. Cheddar's, is it cheddar that you call him? Onions. His pub and kind of hotel thing is still intact in the outer loop there. Holly is not there, if that's what you're looking for, but your house is there.
That's where he starts.
Okay, so he's gonna just try and track her down.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so over the next 3 or 4 years, Jeb follows a trail that leads him all over.
Now that locate object actually works.
Yeah, that's true. If you could just figure out what she's got on her, you kind of follow the trail around Urida, and you find that eventually the trail does start to actually line up with your own. She was trying to catch up and follow Jeb for most of his time there, or most of his time on this quest. And you kind of follow and loop around and whatever, and you eventually do track her down. It is an interaction that I'll just let you kind of talk about how it goes. This is a pretty personal one to Jeb. So you tell us how that story resolves. But he tracks her down in Gaim. So that whole loop, and he winds up back in Gaim again.
Wow. I think he probably finds her like in an inn or something, like on the outskirts of Gaim, and paces just back and forth outside the door for a while, really considers just turning around and vanishing. And then he thinks about all the times that things would get tense and Fox would be like, I just need to go for a walk. And how Jeb would always chide him about that. And no, not this time. And he knocks on the door, and it opens, and he spreads his arms open wide like Xoth, and he says, "Hey, I'm alive." And he goes in and he regales the tale as per Xoth's advice. And I'm not sure how it goes.
You want to roll for it?
No, I think I'd like to just think about it for a little bit while the other players finish this round and we do our time skip.
Sure. While all these things are happening in the world at large, what Four Guys Ventures and Vibes is doing in Gaim, the fleet of airships run by private security goons is doing in many of the other cities in the world. They are using the resources available to Sir Topham Sav, many of which are stowed on his personal airship, which is essentially like a home away from home for him, including a vault of money and riches and all sorts of things. And he has kind of bent his forces towards making a positive change in the world as well. And in fact, nearing the end of this kind of 5 to 10 year span, probably around the same time as Aulen is gearing up to leave for Udril, Sir Topham Sav will approach Aulen and attempt to perhaps not make peace, but at least offer his assistance in the rebuilding of the city of Udril and what's going on with what's happening out there. And among the things that he offers is access to his network of televibes to help Four Guys kind of communicate and explain their side of the story to the world.
Maybe I could roll for it. Aulen is going to be heavily skeptical. He would be essentially, in game terms, rolling a lot of insight on the things that Sir Topham Sav has to say. So I'll even roll that if that's okay with you.
Yeah, you can roll it.
Might be good. I got to open my character sheet because I didn't think about actually opening it. But I got a 3 on the die. That's bad. my insight.
Is he just approaching Aulen, or is it like approaching the company?
I mean,
as a
he's
whole?
approaching Aulen on behalf of the company, basically, in Gaim. Aulen just has kind of stepped into the role as leader, but like it could certainly be a meeting with like all of you if you wanted it to be.
Yeah, Aulen rolled poorly on insight. He got a 5 total.
I mean, however you figure it out, his motives are the same now as they were with the aboleths. He wants to improve the world and make a profit.
Okay.
Right now, the world needs improving in order for there to be any profit made.
Sure.
So he's on board.
Okay. Aulen will want to barter a deal where, like, Sir Topham Sav has no stake in Four Guys. Like, Four Guys is like completely independent. We can reject his services anytime, kind of a thing. Like, he'll just want there to be a lot of
a tentative alliance, not a partnership.
Exactly. There's no like collab brand deals, So yeah, that's what Aulen would want to do.
Clara demands an airship of her own,
and Aulen will make sure she gets it.
She overhears the negotiations. Clara takes an airship and is going to kit it out as sort of like the airborne equivalent of a food truck. And in addition to that, now that the company has access to his Televibe network, she's going to begin advertising for her different baked goods and things. And she's going to pursue her ambition of, being essentially like, she doesn't want to be a name brand. She wants to be the name, like even the company is like Mama Clara's Bakery. And she will kind of pursue that. And she will even offer FP a job as like maybe a representative in the city of Gaim if he wants it. But basically she's going to build her pastry empire starting from this airship, and so that's kind of her long-term future. Another thing that happens in this 5 to 10 year span is that after the initial kind of settling of the company, Monkery approaches the group along with the Mountain and explains that she wants to go back to Thraxenhaus domain and found a monastery there and begin building, a little bit of something new. And she offers, in addition to doing that, she says, if I can do this with your blessing, we can also use it as sort of a training ground for new hires at your company, where she will sort of create the next wave of adventurers if you send them to her monastery. And so that's a thing for you to consider, but that's going to be her direction and Monkery's, and they're going to invite Radford. I don't know if he will go with them or not, but they're going to invite him.
Radford will go with them for a time because he wants to reestablish the library there.
Okay.
And make sure that, his people there have a home and whatnot. And he's gonna have a phase of rebuilding as well before he does his other thing.
Were there people from the monastery still in Gaim? Like,
yes, there are a few of the monks from the Sunset House in Gaim, but they're not necessarily like connected with what's going on here. I don't know that they found them or grouped up or whatever. This is like Monkery's thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And what she rebuilds is not the Sunset House. Monkery instead makes a building that is fairly rectangular. It looks like a cigar case with the lid flipped open, and it's called the Sacred Flame Monastery. And she is going to kind of found her own order of monks there. They take people from all walks of life, but they specialize not in prudence and in action, but rather in the benefit of knowing when to talk versus when to fight. And that's kind of the like virtue that she kind of hounds with her monks, that she's really on top of. And the Mountain is there mostly as the cook. He cooks and creates cigars from exotic plants and things for them. And it is said that to this day, what was once the frozen fang can now be seen with a very fragrant and pleasant mist floating around it at all times. So that's kind of what happens to Monkery in that respect. We're about to time skip, so if you want to talk about Jeb, let's do it.
No, I think we're going to time skip.
Okay.
Does Aulen get what happens with Aulen and Udril, or is that another time
that's
skip?
what's happening next is Aulen's going to go to Udril. But before we do that, we have an important conversation to have, which is the one where Fox alongside Kelnor, walks into essentially a conference room somewhere in the astral plane, not otherwise specified, and sits down at the end of a excruciatingly long table. And on the other end of it are the four gods, or the five, I suppose, the five major deities of the world. And for the purposes of this adventure, I'm going to have Wash play Kelnor, who is positively motivated to bring Fox in as the avatar if he wants the role. He believes that Fox has, shown his willingness and flexibility to be hospitable. I'm going to have Trevor play Kotix, the nature goddess, just as he did in the world building. Kotix is not convinced that the world needs avatars anymore, and thinks that maybe their efforts as deities would be better spent backing up the mortals of the material plane. I'm going to have Jake play Oara, goddess of trade and innovation, who doesn't necessarily care whether there are avatars or not as long as the world is moving forwards, but does think that the last avatar of Kelnor was mostly a distraction to the world, and so has that kind of obstacle to overcome. And I will play Gomteus, god of chaos and the stars, and Zanir, or chaos and the moon. Zanir, god of order and the stars, is basically presiding over the meeting and is only going to vote as a tiebreaker. Like, that's his whole deal, order and the stars. And so we find ourselves with Fox sitting down on the other end of a table and beginning the conversation under some scrutiny from the avatars of the gods themselves, I should say.
Hello. As you may know, I am Lily Peace, better known to some as Fox. I come here today as I've been provided a chance to, for lack of a better word, interview for a position that I think I could really do a lot of work with. I think, right now, I'm going to be frank, I'm coming off a little strong here, but let's be honest. You only shoot your shot once. And I got to say, down below with the mortals, your relationship with them is fairly rocky. And I understand that for some of you, avatars may or may not be the next thing. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're thinking. But I can tell you that should I become an avatar, I think one of the best things I can do is help repair that relationship the best way I know how, and that's one person at a time. I don't think I really believe in all of the, down in the mortal world, a lot of big companies have this thing where they'll move into a town and, shower the local town with wealth to get them to like the company and to get them to get hired, and it's such a big thing. And maybe there was a time when you did that, when you showered the mortal races with wealth or knowledge, or with praise, with love. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, perhaps you're feeling the same here, that now's not really the time for that. And I think I can do a lot of good down there by just helping the everyday person out. And if you have questions for me, feel free to ask.
Do you want the job? So far, you've only spoken of what you think you could do in the position of avatar. Do you want to be an avatar? Would you not prefer resting?
I'd have to say I felt like my time on the mortal plane was cut abruptly short. And while I think I've lost a chance to live a normal life, I do think there was a lot of potential, a lot of influence I could have put into the world and make it better that has been lost. So I do want to become the avatar.
You see, guys, I told you. He's perfect.
Sorry,
He's like like wanting to do and be like the real go-getter before even considering if he wants it. I mean, this is perfect. And he just like claps Fox on the shoulder. This is great. This is perfect.
Sorry, Lily, is it? I don't mean to be of disrespect to you personally, but Zanir, aren't gods supposed to ask before they bring a potential avatar to the council?
Wait, did you ask Lily that? Because you should probably ask Kelnor that.
No, I'm asking you. Like, don't we usually confer with each other before we actually have an avatar candidate?
I thought I asked like forever ago.
Did you fill out the proper paperwork? Is there proper
We don't
paperwork?
really do paperwork. We don't really do that. Like
We
like,
do
what's
paperwork, but I mean, you've never
you
done
do paperwork.
I that sounds negative when I say it that way. Although I will clarify, this one has ideas and brain activity. I couldn't say the same thing about Kay.
See,
So
it's like I always told you, like the first time you do it's a mess, you get all the bugs out, and the second one's like way better. It's like being double buzzed. It's like the double buzz is better than the first buzz.
As much as I love the fact that I think I'm being praised. I would like to say that
totally
I am
praised.
my own mortal and
Totally praised.
I
And see, and you're getting to do it too. Like the first life is like, it's just the buzz. And now you getting a chance to do the double buzz where you can hey, I can do all the things.
Quite
Guys,
frankly,
I think this is perfect.
For a multitude of reasons, I can't argue.
We've had a wonderful conversation. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm glad that we already have established all of this. I think this is going to be great.
Here is a concern of mine. When we introduced avatars to the world the last time, we did so by taking pieces of our divine essence and giving them mortal form. This, however, is a mortal that we would be imbuing with divine essence. The difference being, I'm not confident that a mortal can think in the long term. Like, where do you see yourself in 500 years?
Proudly celebrating at this point probably a century cycle grand month of Mellow. After rebuilding the former city of Stainless, now to be named insert working title here, and really working with the nations of this continent in order to help smooth out a lot of these harsh vibes. Right now, it's chaos, and you know what? That's just how the vibe's gonna be. That's a normal thing right now, right? You disrupt the pool of water, there's gonna be ripples.
Why do we need avatars anymore? Like the old ones are gone. We did that. We could just rule over the mortal world ourselves.
If I may,
Why rule at all? Why not allow the world to take its course? Mortals have shown themselves resilient.
Exactly. Let nature run its course.
Okay,
I
so
agree that mortals are resilient, and as someone who had mixed success with my avatars on the mortal plane, Shrub, being very valiant and bold, but ultimately failing his goal, and Laredith being much more successful and being instrumental in what Fox here helped do. I think I agree to an extent that mortals are resilient and mortals will find ways to progress, and I think that is something that I find most valuable about them. But if I were to caveat that, I think that if we were to continue with avatars, I wouldn't want it to be in the way that we did before, where we just took a part of our divine essence, made it mortal, and kind of plopped it down onto the mortal plane. If we were to continue with avatars, I would rather have them be like this. Be a mortal that has proved that they are here to progress the world.
If I may interject, to prove that point even further, I think I would be a great example of mortals working and striving in order to help take care of themselves, as I am not necessarily one of y'all, as great as I may be. That is a joke. I would never, say I was a god, but I'm just saying.
Didn't you want to stop adventuring? Several times.
Also, wasn't it like a month and a half ago that you were like, that you didn't believe Kelnor existed?
And
Hey,
that
man, existed.
That's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing about mortals is we're vibing, and you know what? We're adaptable. And look how quickly I went from zero faith to adapting and becoming a martyr for the mortals. I killed myself in order to preserve the one shred of hope that we had to keep our realm free of aboleth control. Not only did I sacrifice myself in my own death, I then pulled the anchor, holding the planes together so that way they would have a chance, as without me, they would have not been able to do it. And I did not do it as me. I don't think I was so great as the only one who could have done it, but it was me as a mortal who did it. And I just happened to find myself in this position. And I would be remiss to turn down this position when the opportunity presented itself to not further try to guide and help my own fellow kin.
That was pretty cool. That thing with the planes and the pulling, that I respected that a lot. That was pretty cool.
I don't even know how I did that. Okay.
It was spectacle. Pure spectacle. It was great. But the really, like, the important thing is, though, guys, like, the real important thing is I didn't get an avatar for as long as you. I mean, it's like, I came in at the end of the age, and I really, we got to, even this up a little bit. If anything, I need, at least, 2 ages worth of avatar, at least, to run out. Maybe this is like a quasi-mortal, quasi-avatar thing.
I propose a middle ground. I propose that we find a way to both embrace the changes that are facing the mortal planes. I love embracing my storms, while still allowing our brother, Kelnor, to feel heard and like a part of the team by sending his avatar down to the world. I
think we got this, bro.
Instead of having 5 avatars, as we did in the past, perhaps we merely appoint 2 and allow them to act on behalf of all of us as a group, rather than singularly pursuing possibly divided aims, which I think we could agree is what ended up leaving Shrub with no support when there was a chance to prevent the last catastrophe, is that everyone was so busy doing whatever we asked them to that they could not change courses when the winds blew a new way. Perhaps instead, we appoint this one and my own nominee, and Tacitus walks into the room from beside Garlel, as people to act on our behalf in the material world. Tacitus runs over and bro hugs you. Like the classic Helldivers bro hug, with like the big dap and then the thing.
You interviewed for the position too? Oh man.
Are you proposing that we imbue both of them with some of all of our energies, or just...
Yes. I am supposing that we give them access rather than to one of our power, to all of our power.
I gotta say, Tacitus here, great guy. I knew him in life.
You can't use each other as the referrals on your application.
Well, I was gonna say, I think he's a great foil to me. All right, look at him. He's like a rock. All right, and over here, 1 month I wasn't believing in Kelnor. The next, I'm trying to be his avatar.
Hey, you need to stop while you're ahead, man.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of them's like a rock, and the other one's like water, and that's a vibe. And I dig that much better than what he was saying. Don't completely disregard all of that nonsense. I think I am behind this because it ups my odds of getting a little bit more avatar time.
We
Well,
will, of course, need to give them new identities. They can't return to the world as the mortals they were.
Tacitus, do you want this role?
Tacitus just gives you a single, like, determined nod. So cool, bro.
I am unsure about this, but I agree we can't do what we did before, and this is definitely very different. And I am willing to see how it plays out.
Okay, now, like, the important question, though, that we really need to hammer out when we're thinking about them representing all of us and everything is, like, we need a show of hands. Do they get to remember who they are?
I believe that without knowledge of the past, we would be lost in our future.
Yeah,
So
they
I
have to
believe that
remember.
They should.
Put your hand down, supplicant. It's not going to need to come to a vote. Yes, they can remember who they were. I merely think they need to be cloaked in a different guise when facing the world so that the previous conceptions of who they were will not color the respect for who they will become.
Yeah, that's smart.
And
You're a
are
smart
we announcing them to the world, or are we just kind of dropping them in and they have to make a name for themselves?
Does the group have any ideas?
Well, I kind of want my month of mellow to happen, and that would be a pretty decent way of, like, worldwide tour.
I don't know if I have a strong opinion. I could see it being.
Oh, I do have one strong opinion that's not quite related to announcing who they are, but we have got to change the verbal and somatic components for Speak with Dead. I cannot get that song out of my head. We have got to find a different set of verbal
It's so
and somatic
good, though.
components. I mean, it's
really
good,
I think it's quite charming.
but it's played out.
What song do you
That doesn't sound
propose?
very chaotic of you, my brother.
Do you have a song proposal?
No, I just think it shouldn't be that one.
I think that eventually mortal innovation will create new verbal components for Speak with Dead.
Okay.
And speaking of mortal innovation, I think that, I may prefer the idea of these avatars sort of coming in and then forging their own destiny without the need of announcement. However, I do know that the month of Mellow has been extremely high priority for Kelnor and has not been achieved due to
It's like my
the
thing.
extenuating circumstances. I know. And so that is
What-
something
what
that I
if
would
we
be willing to
also-
compromise on if it meant making the month of Mellow happen.
What if, like, after the month of mellow, there was like a month of innovation and a month of chaos and a month of order and a
We're just
month of
picking a
whatever
month
you do?
for each god.
Something.
I don't
I
think
don't
it's
know.
necessary.
How about
I
just
don't
like
think-
one month of godly festival?
No, I want my month of mellow.
The universe naturally tends towards chaos. I am the default state of being.
I don't prefer to put that much structure on what I do. So
That's
it's okay.
right,
Nature.
my girl.
Nature happens when it happens, as it happens.
You can have your month.
I'm
though.
like
We're not trying to poo-poo your idea.
I'm like the flowy wowy stuff in between all y'all, and it's like a vibe. All right, month of mellow it is.
So, what identities shall they assume? If they are to be counterpoints to each other, should they be presented to the world as such? A yin and yang, so to speak?
I think that makes sense.
Go Tacitus. Is that how we want to go about it? We like gonna be like two brothers? Are we gonna be like what
Fire
are
and
we
ice.
going for here?
Tactus kind of shrugs. I've been the protector of Udril for, since I was born. I can just continue being the protector of things. And that's fine by me.
Ooh, okay. You can be like a mountain. You can be like the steel mountain, the steel mountain shield, and I can be like the flowing wind. Gosh, those aren't really catchy names though. But you can think of anything that like kind of catches into that? I'm trying to think of good catch names. I could be like the Flow Master. right? and you could be the beat
That's a
dropper.
good one.
You know, dropping the beat protector. How about that? Beat protector.
If we are going just for titles, I think so. There's some more eloquent ideas that maybe flow off the tongue better. Perhaps the whisper of the wind and the root of the mountain.
Those are cool titles.
A little bit more traditional.
What about names? Should they have names?
I think they could choose their own names as long as they're not too similar.
All right, Tacitus. How about you choose my name and then I choose your name?
No, that would never work. I
No,
couldn't do
come
it.
on.
No.
Give it a shot.
No, it's not me. It's not me.
All right. We'll call you. I did a spitball in here. Wow. Yeah, you're right. That isn't me. I really had a hard time coming up with a name for you. I'm sorry.
I need a name that screams party animal.
Party animal? Whew. All right.
Rick. What if we call you Rick? Wait, it's coming to me. Rick Astley.
You know, that is one hell of a name. I can't. Where did you even come up with that?
It just said party animal to me.
Man, you know, you're just rolling off the tongue with these. You know what? We should call you the Rolling Stones, okay?
That I don't think that sounds like another title, but I liked the other title.
Rolling Stone? Rolling Stone?
No, I feel like that doesn't feel like a name to me.
Stone's a name.
Stone?
I've met people called Stone.
I could be Stone.
Oh, I mean, like, you
Stone.
gotta have like a
The
thing.
root
to
of the
that, right?
mountain. Kind of self-explanatory.
It's quite a literal name.
You know, that is very much you, Tacitus.
What
You-
about
you are
a
wearing
stone?
your heart
What
on
if
your
we
sleeve.
what if we choose a kind of stone?
What about the boulder?
Okay.
That once again is technically a title.
First name the, last name boulder.
All right. Okay. So
Agate?
your clan was all about like wolves, right?
Clan Lupus.
What about Moonstone?
I don't know. Would that bother Andromeda, do you think? He looks up at the gods.
Probably.
Yeah,
It may irk her.
that would bother her.
She's
Okay.
fickle.
It's hard to find things that don't at least intrigue Andromeda.
Okay.
It's weird to be playing both of my deep voiced characters in the same conversation.
Loopstone? Like Loopstone?
Lodenstone?
Man, I you know,
Loden's a cool name.
I don't really know a lot of rocks. I'm just not that learned in. I think they call it rockology. So
What about Beryl? Beryl.
barrel?
That's pronounced burl. I
But
think.
what if it was Beryl?
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, you could
Barrel.
do
Onyx?
that.
How do we feel about
Ooh.
Onyx?
That's good. Obsidian is
Onyx,
also a
the
cool
root of
name.
the mountain?
Onyx, the root of the mountain.
I like it.
I could get behind Onyx.
You
What
know
about the
what?
last
Yeah.
name?
Onyx Stone, but we just call him Onyx for short. Get it?
A bit on the nose, isn't it?
I think just Onyx is sufficient.
Okay. You know,
That's
it's
right.
Sounds
Ashley
sturdy.
and Onyx.
You don't have to go with Rick Astley. It was just the first thing that came to mind for me.
you know, it does scream party animal, but I will have to say, given the impression Kay left behind, specifically on me, and I'm sure on the rest of you, perhaps party animal isn't what we should be going for.
I think it should be something that starts with K.
Do you know any names that do not start with K, Kelnor?
All of our names,
Like
presumably.
Chris or like Kyle
Kyle
or like
starts
with the
with
C.
Kyle with a C. I think that should be your avatar's name.
We agreed.
What
now.
if we
want
call him
avatars?
Helmore?
So he's more than you?
If I may, I think we're being a little hung up on this name thing. I don't
You know
know
what?
if it matters too much in the grand scheme.
How
Yeah,
about
but
we
don't get
just
to do
go,
this sort of
hey,
thing very often.
it's my mortal name specifically wasn't very unique in the sense of like it's not identifying, right? Lily Peace. So what if I just take my last name? Peace.
Just peace.
Peace.
Capice.
The whisper of the wind.
Onyx and Peace. I like it.
I like that.
OP.
It
Yeah.
is an OP name. You're right. Too powerful. And that's why we must go with it.
The onyx piece is real.
And having kind of come to a conclusion, we're going to leave behind that hallowed body. And we're going to rejoin the mortal world for a little while. Time is different, so we won't re-enter the avatars into the world just yet. The next things that are happening is Xoth is on a quest to find Fox's leg, and Aulen is headed to Udril with Tacitus's body. Jeb, it sounds like, stayed with Holly, so that's where Jeb is. So let's follow the group here as... let's start. We're going to start talking in bigger sways here. Aulen, as you return to Udril with your kind of uneasy alliance with Sir Topham Sav, kind of resourcing and funding the rebuilding, you find the nation of Udril is pretty depressing to visit. Their whole thing is legacy, and the way that they culturally believed in legacy was architecture. And in particular, as you go to bury the king with the bodies of his forefathers in the Gamteun Cathedral, that massive cathedral in the royal holdings, it has, of course, been destroyed. The cathedral itself razed to the ground as a holy site. The crypt beneath it has been defaced but not destroyed. The tombs themselves are intact, and so you can lay him to rest there. And as you arrive and the rest of Clan Royal kind of comes to understand what has taken place, they do help you perform kind of the proper ceremonies and rituals. And it's quite the occasion. And then you begin the rebuilding. Do you try to rebuild things as they were? Do you have a vision for how the rebuilding goes? In particular, you need to navigate a lot of tension between the clans. For the first time, Tacitus did not have any descendants. He has cousins and things, but like there is no one next in line for the throne the way that a king and his son or a king and his daughter would be. And so there's a lot of tension as far as like who's going to step into that power gap and what's going to happen next.
With the architecture thing in mind, I think Aulen would be very his goal would be to get the people who are needed to sort things out, and the two major things being like the discussion of how should we rebuild these things, and the discussion of who, if there is any, is going to be the next leader of the clans. He wants to facilitate those discussions, if that makes sense. So make contact with with architects, make contact with the leaders of the clans, and present himself as an unbiased third party that is just here to help all of the clans. And so, because he believes that's what Tacitus would do in this situation.
I see.
And the other thing is too, if I remember correctly, Clan Trekta is the clan that gave Makar a home.
Yes.
When Makar, post the Fallen Library, and so Aulen will, because Clan Lupus and Clan Trekta are the places that he feels like the most obligation to. There's a chance that he would probably spend his like most time in those clans helping them out, but he's there to help all of the clans, obviously.
Sure.
So he's trying to facilitate those discussions if need be. Aulen went from being like a student to a soldier to a scientist to an engineer. He'd be willing to make one more pivot to architect to help out. And so those are the things he's focusing on.
The rebuilding of Udril is a very long-term project. We're talking hundreds of years. Is Aulen planning to kind of spend the rest of his days as part of this?
No, his goal would be to get things started, sort of like how Jeb described how we wanted to get things started in Gaim before sorting out his personal stuff. His goal would be to facilitate the right discussions and then put the right people in the right places, or like help them get to the right places to then, keep that going.
Sure.
And because really where his heart is he feels an obligation to Udril. His heart is in maybe not literally rebuilding the Eos lore foundation and the fallen Aeleth tower, but maybe at least building or helping build the successor to that.
Sure.
Not literally a floating tower this time, because it's been proven 2 times that that's a terrible idea. But
because Aulen learns from his mistakes.
Yeah,
not even his.
You probably don't build it 30 miles into the sky.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like the successor to that, and to probably dedicate that, and this is long term, obviously. But that is what he would want to spend the rest of his days doing, and dedicate that work to Laredith and Garlel.
Cool.
That's his long term plan.
As Aulen is kind of mediating all these disputes among the different clan members, it is a very difficult barrier to overcome, especially when you are not as quick-tongued as Fox. And you find the financial backing of Sir Topham Sav invaluable in negotiating peace between the clans, because he has enough resources that you can just give everyone what they want. Like, there are no compromises. And in doing that, hopefully he's able to kind of earn Aulen's trust, and like, this is the direction that we're going, and this, we really want to be a force for good, the same way that Forgav does. And so maybe over even like 10 or 15 years, of this kind of process, that's able to happen. And I envision it. Well, sorry, go ahead. You were going to say something.
I was going to say, if Aulen, if Sir Topham Sav earns Aulen's trust in the I think 15 years is probably the max amount of time Aulen would spend there, working on that project, then Aulen would actually then probably present Sir Topham Sav with this library idea as a, hey, this is my next project. Are you interested in this? If he builds that trust in that 15 years.
Yeah. Sure. So I think that Sir Topham Sav would be interested in an investment that comes with a return. When it comes to a project that's close to the heart or something like that for Aulen. So I think you would find him willing to bankroll the building of the tower and everything, but he would want, access to the library, and he would want probably some cut of whatever fees are charged for visitors to come and, that kind of stuff.
Aulen would push back a little bit against that, I think, especially charging fees for people to come in. And if that results in some conflict and results in a lack of backing on the project, I think Aulen would be okay with that.
Yeah, I think it would just be we're not going to go in together on this one. I don't think it would be hard feelings or anything.
Sure.
I think perhaps you might find Sir Topham Sav an ideal person to stick around in Udril and kind of help safeguard and shepherd the rebuilding, over the longer term, while Aulen goes off to do something else. And maybe that's where, he and private security goons kind of sunset. You find the private security goons over the next however many 100 years turn into a guild of mild repute. They're still a mercenary guild, which means that whoever hires them is really the moral compass. But they have stopped acting as a single body, and now it's more there's a chapter of private security goons in most towns and that kind of thing. So it's you can hire a couple local private security goons if you need them, type of deal. They're all, there's I'm local 3, I'm local 42, what, it's like that.
Sure.
And that's kind of where that guild winds up going. Aulen, as you decide not to work with Sir Topham Sav regarding the library you want to build, you get some letters from Monkery via Scale and Sons offering to host your library at the House of the Sacred Flame if you wanted that, and to give you at least a place to start the guild, even if you don't stay forever,
Yeah, Aulen would take her up on that. Yeah.
Great. So that's kind of the direction Aulen takes. Xoth, let's talk about you, buddy. Xoth, your next thing after kind of visiting your home area was you were going to go look for Fox's leg. Is that still the case? It takes you a long time to conduct your search because the sea is still full. Throughout your search, you do eventually find Fox's leg, and you're able to cast the spell that you want to on it. You've got the components you need, which is how you arrive floating in almost It's like amphitheater type seating that's like around surrounding an area, except instead of a stage at the center, it's a really long conference table. And you are sitting there, and next to you there are a number of entities who you can't quite place, but they're just like other, spirits, incorporeal, whatever, that are in that area, that are watching as they land on the names Onyx and Peace. And you see kind of like there's the collective handshakes and the, okay, now you need to sign this binding paperwork from Zanir, handing over the paperwork that needs to be signed. Wash, you're muted.
We don't do paperwork. I thought we said that already.
He's on behalf of all of us now, not just you. And so we'll need to see Tacitus signs down as Onyx and whatnot. Fox, or I guess Xoth, it's up to you to decide whether you're going to interact with Fox as you see this ending, or if if you're going to be like, oh, I see where this is going, I'm going to let it go.
Xoth would want to interact, but not to like try and drag him back to the world, just to be like just that kind of closure that he was looking for that they didn't get.
Okay. So as the moment is ending, Fox, you've signed your new name. Yeah, you're shaking hands with everybody, maybe some claps on the back, whatever, until eventually it's just you and Onyx and Kelnor left in the space. The other deities have gone to go about their next priorities. You're sitting there at the end of this ridiculously long table. So it's like a long cafeteria table, and you're like the end cap, So and you're all kind of looking at each other. And Kelnor actually is the first to notice that Xoth is on the outside of this room trying to speak to Fox. No sound comes in unless the gods permit it in this space. So Kelnor is going to have to directly interact for it to come through.
He's going to like poke his head over. Hey, what are you doing in here?
Hey, this is a surprise. I was trying to bring Fox back, and I kind of oversaw what has happened. I just want some closure with him because we didn't end on the best of terms, but I definitely not gonna try and bring him back. He looks like he's gearing up for a new role.
You're like one of my followers, aren't you?
Yeah, man. It's crazy seeing you here. I can't believe that. I'm still not convinced that this isn't a dream.
I bet you're a big fan.
Yeah, man, I am. I hope I've served you well. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, just keep doing the thing.
Yeah, man. It's so happy. Makes me so happy to see you.
Do you want me to let him know you said hi?
Would it be possible for me to talk to him?
I don't know. I mean, he's kind of
just
in the middle of some.
I know. I don't want to harsh the vibes.
Yeah, we kind of got to. Hold on a second. Hey, Peace.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, sorry. Yeah. No. I'll trust me. I'll finish this in a second. What's up? What's up?
Hey,
Big K.
Come here for a second.
Oh, okay.
Hi, little K.
Yeah. What's up?
And he just takes your face and just kind of pushes it out the barrier. Hey, I'm here to see you.
Hey, man.
Hey. Did you die again?
No, I'm not dead. I was actually trying to bring you back, but I've seen what's been going on, so I definitely don't need that.
There was, kind of a whole opportunity.
That's great for you. I'm so happy for you, man. But yeah. I just wanted to talk to you because we didn't really end in the best of places in terms of our relationship, and I just wanted this last opportunity before I guess you assume your new role, and I don't know if I'll see you again.
That's fair. Me and you, we've traveled the world,
saved the world.
We both died now.
It's exact. Well, I guess you had a much better experience than I did, but
well, still,
yeah.
I would like to say that I wouldn't have done it with anybody else.
Neither would I.
All those operations we went on, that weird muddle of time that just keeps shifting in our memories.
I know.
Wouldn't trade it for the world, man.
Definitely not. I did go back. I guess you probably already know this. Our village has kind of been taken out. I haven't been able to find anyone from it.
Yeah, okay, that's my B. I could have brought that up at some point, and I just didn't. It felt like, the vibes are already kind of crazy, and, just never felt like the right time to bring up that, like, hey, my parents are dead, your parents are probably dead.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've processed all that, so I'm good now. But
oh, okay, good. I wasn't. How many days, months, years?
It's been years, right, Josh?
It's been like at least 10 years.
Yeah, it's been 10 years.
Oh,
Maybe more. Yeah.
Then, 5 minutes left. It's infinity. You can use it.
Good one. That was a good one, Big K. Yeah, sorry, he's a joke.
Big K.
Do you want me to tell Forgav and everyone, or do you just want to like I can keep this a secret too if you'd rather? I don't know.
Okay, so I kind of signed like an I think what they call a DNA.
DNA.
I don't know. Yeah, it was sorry, a non-discuss agreement, so
Okay.
NDA.
So I won't discuss it then.
But I mean, like, you can tell Aulen and Jep I'm doing good, and next time you see me, I might not be me, but I'll be me.
Okay, man. I look forward to it.
All right, now, hey, don't get too crazy down there, and don't worry about the whole month of mellow. You want to set up the footwork down there. I don't mind it, but trust me, month of mellow coming in strong. Ain't that right, Big K?
All right, we wrapping up. We all good here? We all good? Yeah. Like all tied up.
I'm good. I'm ready to go.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Once again,
keep
Fox, one
praying.
last hug.
I totally listened to every word.
Okay, sorry, Big K. I was talking about, we were like gonna do the month of mellow, strong, coming in strong, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey,
that's right.
I got a good idea. I've been talking to Big G while you were talking to Big K. Just, it's infinity,
I like
so it can
that,
happen
Big
really
G.
quickly, right? And I was talking to him,
Yeah.
and he told me that he observed that you are getting pretty friendly with a certain princess. Is that right?
Yes.
So maybe we should kick the month of mellow off with like a wedding celebration.
No, wait, I didn't have a wedding gift prepared, man.
And you could, I was thinking you could play music, and they like have not at all considered whether Xoth is like ready for that step yet. They're like, so we could do the wedding, and we could.
Okay.
Man, you guys keep thinking about it. I'm gonna go.
Wait, here's my wedding gift. And Fox just ties up a bunch of magically imbound apple cats. Here, you just they're a little strong. Just smoke them sparingly.
It's a boukat.
Yeah, it's a boukat.
Oh man.
Hey, listen, that's actually a great name, man.
I know.
What if that becomes like a symbol of hospitality?
It is now. That's your future.
Hey, here you go. It's welcome, and you were the first person to witness this potentially, depending on when you get back. Yeah.
But we really got to wrap it up because
we got
Fox, peace.
Avatar stuff to go. Yeah. Hey, it was good living with you.
It was good living with you. I look forward to seeing what you do next.
And
Xoth will fade back to the overworld.
Xoth fades.
And anyway, Onyx. So
you're telling me they sing back when you do that spell. Like you start the song and they finish the song.
And they finished the song.
That's
I don't
wild.
understand why they want to change it.
We cut back into the material world. What is Xoth doing next?
Well, he has no need for Fox's leg anymore. So he's going to go back to Gaim and continue courting the princess, maybe developing their relationship if the queen allows and she wants to.
By this point, Four Guys has fixed its reputation.
Okay. And he just wants to settle down and start a family and live a happy life in Gaim or wherever the princess, I guess. If she doesn't want to live in Gaim, that'll be a different conversation.
She's a princess. She's got to stay in Gaim.
Yeah.
It's like part of her job. I think in that case, it feels most fitting to me to end this epilogue with the original 4 guys, including Peace, who has made themselves known to Jeb and Aulen and Xoth. We're at the end of the month of Mellow, maybe the 3rd annual month of Mellow or something like that. And it is a wedding celebration. The speeches have been given, the drinks have been drunk, whatever. And now there's like a royal party happening. Essentially, people are dancing the night away and whatever. And somewhere off at a side table, probably the first time Jeb has come back. Jeb is probably with Holly. Aulen has, taken a leave of absence from the library he's been building and putting together. It's probably been, I would say maybe 45 or 50 years. FP is there with his girlfriend, and Radford is dancing like a fool on the dance floor by himself. Doesn't need nobody. And the 4 of you find yourself seated at a table with each other for the first time since Fox's passing.
Man, oh wow, great. This has been a great wedding, I just gotta say. The music's been great. The lights have been great. You can thank me for the lights. I put up a couple dancing lights up there. But hey, it's been great.
It's a cantrip. It's okay.
Come on, I get to do it all this magic, and it doesn't even. It feels different now.
You made the month of Mellow happen, man. That was great. We had a blast.
Yeah, no, month of Mellow was awesome. All right, let me tell you. But I honestly, have you guys been holding up? I don't think we've really sat down, all 4 of us, in one spot since that fateful day.
It took a while. It took a while to stop looking over my shoulder. But I don't know. Aulen and Topham Sav have really made a lot of strides in the world, and they've really pulled a lot of things together. And yeah.
I still can't believe that guy turned around. Like, I thought for sure he was going to be like some evil maniac.
I agree.
I mean, what they say, never trust a guy with a giant pet crab. But, I guess there's a thing.
I guess.
Have you met anyone with a pet crab after that?
I haven't, but let me tell you, I wouldn't trust him, right, Jeb?
That's right. That's why we had to. Anyway,
he's he has a good. If you can motivate him with something that will benefit him, I think in the deepest part of him, he has a good heart.
Yeah, the company's been doing well. I've been stationed here helping out at headquarters. I'm behind a desk now. I've given up.
Whoa. I behind the desk.
I know. Head of orc relations,
It's a valuable job, and as Aulen will kind of like mime sitting at a desk and be like, "Do you have the same problem as me? The desk is too short for your thighs."
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you need to. Yeah, it's something that can be adjusted height wise.
I've been thinking about maybe like having Randy invent some sort of like standing desk or something, because sitting all day just kind of hurts a little bit.
An adjustable standing
As they're
desk.
having this conversation, you find a slip of paper in your bag or maybe your pocket or something that it must have gotten put in there the last time that you were in one of the spirit realms. I've texted you what's on it. You all can continue your scene.
So guys, I gotta tell you, the group of kids this year is fantastic. They're already like past cantrips. It's wonderful.
My. That is wonderful.
That's great.
Do you think you're going to send them on a field trip to the library? Or is that in the future?
Oh,
I don't know if they have them.
Yeah, we should totally collab. Zoth, I told you about this, right?
Hey, whoa.
I started up a camp for teaching kids for teaching kids Camp Blunder, where we're teaching kids magic and yeah, it's been going really good. We're like on our second or third year. Aulen, we should totally do a library collab.
I agree. I think
you have
a field
any,
trip would be
A
really fun.
library, if you will.
If you
I
have
did
any
have to say.
clerics or healers that show up, you can send them my way. I could take
Speaking-
on an apprentice or two.
Speaking of the library, have you got my book, right, Alan? That book I wrote.
Aulen produces a copy from like he's doesn't wear the same tool belt that he used to. He's wearing like a flowing robe that has many pockets, if that makes sense. From like a back pocket, he pulls out a book and he like kind of waves it and he goes, "This book? It may or may not have been already Dewey system categorized in the library."
But you got the little like sleeve, right? Let me just check that. And Fox flips over to this, leather-bound book, and with this very fine paper sleeve. And in the inside of it is an image painted to look in almost a lifelike fashion of peace, as he is now. Flowing robes of purple, red, green, and yellow, all mashed together into this cacophony of colors that somehow works and blends together with one giant belt with a buckle with a fox head on it, kind of tying the whole robe together. And he's like, "Oh, you did great with the artwork. This is what I was hoping for. It took me a long time to write down our adventures into a book, and I've trusted nobody else with this task. And did learn a cool trick. I have a gift for each of you." And as he holds up the book, and watch as this book turns into the first, and he throws it up into the air, and as it does, an illusion is cast, and the book disappears, and in its place, a slip of paper falls down into his hand, and he hands it to Jeb. Jeb
takes off his top hat and sets it on the table next to him, kind of tightens up his bow tie, flips his little coattails a little bit. He's dressed a little fancy now. What's this?
This is, let's just say an acquaintance, for my time interviewing and spending, off this plane. Just wanted to let you know that they're proud of you.
Oh.
And Fox hands him a note written by Violet
Oh no.
that says, "I'm proud of you, Daddy."
Oh.
Jeb takes it, wipes the wetness from around the fur on his face, and folds it up and puts it in his breast pocket, taps it, and he says, "I'll be sure to tell Holly and Poppy."
Of course. Oh, another gift. And Fox digs into his robes. Mind you, there's not a lot of free flowingness. There's probably like a couple inches of cloth to give, but yet his hand feels like it keeps going deeper and deeper into the robes.
Robes of holding.
Robes of holding. And as he comes out, he produces a fist-sized stone that changes colors, and just continues to flow into all sorts of crazy patterns. This is for my dear friend Aulen. You tell me how it works. You feel free to have it. Feel free to have it to figure out how it works. I don't know. I thought you would like figuring that out.
Aulen will take it, like, first just kind of grinning and nodding, just like, "All right, sure, peace, whatever." But as he takes it, you can tell it like really catches his eye, and he like is like trying to look like on his face that like, "I'm not as interested in this as I actually am." Like, and he like kind of slowly puts it in his pocket, but his eyes are following it. Like, how does it work? And then he puts it in one of his pockets, and he looks back up and he says, "Thank you. This will occupy much more of my time than I needed to admit."
I'm sure just a little bit of your time. And of course, Xoth.
So Xoth stands up, and he's got an even fancier top hat now. tailored by the only tailor that he would entrust to said assignment, along with the rest of his outfit, which is a very nice dapper suit. He's in a white suit with a purple vest and purple bow tie, and then just this hat that is adorned with various gems and whatnot.
I give Xoth the biggest hug I can.
Xoth gives him the biggest hug he can back.
And while embraced, whispers a faint blessing.
Oh.
And he blesses Xoth that he may seek good fortune, and may his family seek good fortune for the rest of their days. You know, you took the first hit out of all of us, and you had a hard time with things, both as a child and even on the road, but you were always the heart of our group. And I think you deserved better.
Thank you. Caitlin will be very happy to hear this. I'm honored to have been receiving of this gift.
Nothing. It's just
Jeb raises a glass to the four founders. We truly are the best of us.
you're the best of us.
The best of us.
The best of us.
Speaking of the best of you, and Onyx comes over, staggers over with two mugs, one in each hand, and kind of sits down heavily at a bench at your table. And he goes, I think they're playing your song. And you hear screams and crashing as some monster from the Underdark has busted in the wall. You see spores from the Myconid disperse into the air, and he goes, I think you're on duty, big guy. And you see that the princess has coordinated the guests not to run in fear, but to form a little ring. So that you can coordinate your crew as, well-dressed adventurers. Rex and Sasha with their bow ties and tuxedos on take positions in front of you, and Clara fluttering around with her serving tray suddenly tosses it to the side and pulls out Circles' rapier, and FP62 pulls a rifle out of who knows where the heck FP62 has been stowing a rifle. He's not a robot anymore, but the full-length sniper rifle, and takes a knee. And then stepping in front of all of them is Monkery, who takes her trademark dagger, pulls it from beneath her teeth to look back at you and go, ready for some orders. And on that note, this adventure in the Winged Badger Tavern, this campaign, this story comes to a close. I do want to say a big thank you to Wash for joining us for this adventure. He was just some guy on Twitch who didn't know us, and we were like, hey, you want to play D&D with us? You want to commit for an undetermined amount of time to play D&D with us every Monday? And Wash was like, yeah. And that's how this whole thing began. So big shout out to him. Big thanks for being here. He will not be joining us for the next adventure, so we'll see if anyone else steps in or if we play as 3 or what happens there. But we are so thankful for you, Wash, and all of the wonderful gameplay that you brought to this adventure, as well as your minis and your art and your time and just all of your creative greatness. So, you the man.
It has been a pleasure and an honor playing with all of you.
I love role-playing with you.
Yeah. It's amazing being with you.
Yeah, Nemi award-winning voice actor, twitch.tv/Wash Brunello.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's what we can all say that about ourselves now. We've got a Nemi award-winning cast. Is what this is.
Nemi award-winning show, D&D podcast.
That's right.
Yeah.
Our first campaign won all of the Nemis.
Yeah, every Nemi that year.
One. We swept.
Yeah.
We swept the Nemis.
Yeah, we swept the Nemis. That's nuts.
Yeah, that wasn't at all biased.
Good
either.
year for us.
No.
Crazy how the Academy voted our way all the time. Haters will say it's rigged.
Yeah, right.
Good thing the haters couldn't vote.
That's right. Good thing the haters couldn't vote. Chat, we love you too.
Yeah.
We love you, Chad.
Yeah, Chat's got Eleazar, the name of your tailor. Eleazar is probably at the party as both of his personalities.
Oh, 100%.
That's his two distinct voices, his business voice and his fabulous voice.
I think Riley and Zomph are probably, living their best lives. Okay.
They probably still work for Forgav, I imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'd imagine. Go ahead.
Xoth handles all of the like paperwork that has to go through Gaim's like bureaucratic like process. Like he handles all of that.
Nice.
For four guys.
Yeah.
Belly Savalis, we love
think...
you. Thanks for being in the chat for all of those wonderful times. Belly, I have to shout out Belly Savalis here.
Great, yeah.
Belly Savalis
amazing.
Figured out the plot on session 2. Sent me a DM after session 2 and was like, is it the Rod of Seven Parts? And I was like, I can neither confirm nor deny his allegations.
That was insane.
But he didn't know it was Abel.
Hell of a read.
Yeah, we tried to invite Belly to the Nemis, but the haters got to him and couldn't let him go. So yeah,
Oof.
That's okay.
Those darn haters.
Next Nemis.
But you know what? The haters are not getting down Riley because she's doing all of the artwork for Four Guys. You know, somebody's got to take care of their marketing.
Yeah, she's in the marketing department with Marcy now.
You know what?
Yeah, there you go.
I would imagine as she gets up there, you know, she's starting to do it more part-time and starts to do more freelance.
There you go.
But you know, I don't know. I'm kind of excited. I don't know. My mind's always racing when like a story this good's told. I'm like, what are they doing next? What's the next big thing? What's going on? You know, I
think we did a good job on this one.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
a little one shot at Camp Blunder.
there you go.
Yeah, I'm totally open to those future like adventures in the world or whatever.
There's lots of side adventures that can happen.
I think I'd like to imagine that in the immediate aftermath of this ending, Aulen pulls out Tacitus's old hammer and like offers it to Onyx. Like, do you want this or like for this big fight that's about to happen?
Onyx waves him off, snaps his fingers, and summons his wolf.
Yeah, exactly.
There's only one way he's gonna enter a fight. Let's be real here.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I agree. I love like the Camp Blunder and like I'm so glad that it ended up being something like that because that was my best guess and I was just like I'm gonna try to yes and wash into talking about it by being like field trip.
That's so great.
But it worked out. Otherwise it'd be terrible to be like field trip and you're like, no, this place doesn't do field trips. What are you talking about?
It's so stupid. Why would you ask that?
Why would you think that?
No, but.
That would be season 1 Wash, who doesn't know what yes and is yet.
That'd be season 1 Jake as well, honestly.
There was a lot of season 1 us.
Season 1's growth arc wasn't for the characters, it was for the players.
True. That's true.
Willa thought the camp would be
that
called
would've
Camp
been
Trip,
good.
like Cantrip. Camp Trip.
I originally was going to call it Camp Cantrip, but I wanted it to be a little bit more stylized than that. So I went with Camp Blunder because
like
everybody
Camp
gets their own little blunderbuss.
Nice.
Yeah.
As far as
I think I like that name a lot.
As far as what to expect from us next, chat, we are going to possibly switch gaming systems. We're looking at maybe trying an adventure in the Cypher system, and we're going to tell a story in the same world. We're going to still be in Urada, but probably not the exact same time period. So we will kind of figure out what that looks like and where it falls in the timeline and everything. But for the next few weeks, I would say just pay attention to our Discord because we probably won't be ready to like launch next week or anything like that. So we'll keep talking about what comes next.
We're taking next week off already,
yeah.
So
so we'll keep talking about what comes next, and as soon as we know, we'll make sure you know. In the meantime, if you pay attention to our YouTube channel, you'll see a number of fun bonus content things appearing there, such as the Game Changers episode that was run for us last time we were in person together. The Nemis are coming out soon on our YouTube channel. So if you didn't catch the Nemi Awards and you want to see us sweep the competition, this is your chance. And a few other fun little things. We've got some bonus Patreon content that'll be coming there. So that's what you can expect from us. And otherwise,
this is a question without the intent of rushing anything.
Yeah.
Just a question for the podcast listeners. When will the finale episodes be on the podcast feed?
The finale episodes are coming out on the podcast feed this week. The first one came out today, and over the next 4 days, like each of the 4 finale episodes will come out. So sorry it took me so long to get the audio ones done, everybody. It just was slow going.
I have personal
better.
friends and relatives that listen to the podcast feed, so I wanted to speak up for them.
Billy
do we-
redeemed loud applause for us. I forgot all my Nemi chat rewards
Do we
were
want to
still
do a
in there.
loud applause for him? We can just all clap into
3,
the
2,
mic.
1, yay!
Boom, it's being filtered out by Discord.
I know. Yeah, it's all silent here, but that's okay. I'm great.
Silent applause.
It's just me clapping like that Shia LaBeouf gif.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all the announcements that I have in mind. Anything that players or anyone needs to say before we leave?
I
You
love
know-
you all in the audience and in the Discord call.
Aw.
This has been so fun.
After you said that, it's kind of hard to follow up with.
Jury
Don't forget about jury nullification.
There it is.
It
Well,
can
then-
save you. It can keep you out of jury. You never know.
And I'll
Don't
just
do it
say,
actively, because that could get you in a bunch of legal trouble.
Y'all be good.
From all of us here at the Winged Badger Tavern Wash, what do we tell the people?
We tell them GG and GN.
Bye, everybody.